Alright, so now we come to chapter 18 of the Quenta, of the ruin of Beleriand and the fall of Fingolfin. It says, Now Fingolfin, king of the north, and the high king of the Noldor, seeing that his people were become numerous and strong, and that the men allied to them were many and valiant, pondered once more an assault upon Angband, for he knew that they lived in danger while the circle of the siege was incomplete. And Morgoth was free to labor in his deep mines, devising what evils none could foretell ere he should reveal them. This counsel was wise according to the measure of his knowledge, for the Noldor did not yet comprehend the fullness of the power of Morgoth, nor understand that their unaided war upon him was without final hope, whether they hasted or delayed. And so it is, in war. And Tolkien believed this, that every war is essentially a lost cause. There is no hope of final victory, because there's always another war to fight, and it just keeps happening and happening and happening. The only hope of final victory is the return of Jesus, his second coming. Tolkien, being a Catholic, believed in this. And you will see this theme not just here in the Silmarillion, but in the Lord of the Rings as well. So while they are sitting and waiting, for Morgoth had long prepared his force in secret, while ever the malice of his heart grew greater, and his hatred of the Noldor more bitter. And he desired not only to end his foes, but to destroy also, and defile the lands that they had taken and made fair. And it is said that his hate overcame his counsel, so that if he had but endured to wait longer until his designs were full, then the Noldor would have perished utterly. But on his part he esteemed too lightly the valor of the elves, and of men he took yet no account. That is also a lesson here. And this has happened in war too, where somebody will strike first before they're even their armies are full and ready to go, thinking, oh well, the enemy's just lazy and weak, and we can take them, without thinking ahead, without planning ahead. When you're going to war, you have to plan everything out. But you don't want to be too hasty and striking first. Or even in defense, there's all kinds of things you gotta think about. Morgoth doesn't do this, and so now that he's going to go to war with them again, it's too soon. But he does have some victory, though. So what happens here is that, I'll just read it. Then suddenly Morgoth sent forth great rivers of flame that ran down swifter than Balrogs from Thingolrodrum, and poured over all the plain. And the mountains of iron belched forth fires of many poisonous hues, and the fume of them stank upon the air, and was deadly. Thus Ardgallen perished, and fire devoured its grasses, and it became a burned and desolate waste, full of a choking dust, barren and lifeless. Thereafter its name was changed, and it was called Enfaugleth, the gasping dust. Mordor, later on in Lord of the Rings, would be a lot like this. And you have that line in the movie where Boromir says, the very air you breathe is a poisonous fume. And so Mordor is a kind of a copy of the lands about Thingolrodrum and Morgoth, because he was trying to be Morgoth. And it says, in front of these fires came Glaurung the Golden, the father of dragons, who will be important in a story coming up. The war ends because spring comes, and Morgoth is less likely to fight, so the fighting kind of simmers down, but there's not technically a peace. So great was the onslaught of Morgoth that Fingolfin and Fingon could not come to the aid of the sons of Finarfin, and the hosts of Heathloom were driven back with great loss to the fortresses of Eredwethrin, and these they hardly defended against the orcs. Beside the walls of Aethelsirion fell Hador the Golden-Haired. Galdor Tall takes over for him, and one by one the lands of Beleriand start to fall. So that is the end of this first part, because I have to do this in 2 parts, because I'm trying to do shorter videos. It takes way too long to load up if I go too long. So cut it off there. In the next video, I'll come back to this chapter. So until then, I will see you shortly.